Matt Gannon, cheers. We are back. It's Fast Greens. First Fast Greens in a while. We've had a ton of boots going on. And then obviously last week you were partying with Billy Ho and My Atlanta Drive. So it's nice to be back. I like Fast Greens. It's fun.
Fast Greens is a nice, quick hitting, get to the point segment. A nice like midweek chat to like rekindle our early week thoughts. But yeah, Fast Greens is fun. I wish we got to do it more often, but we're not going to do it next week either. So who knows when the Fast Greens will be back?
Yeah, they'll be back soon enough. And we were just chatting with Kessler Interview, caddy for Masters winner Patrick Reed. So that's what we were up to before this. That's going to be up on the site or up on YouTube this week, talking Masters, talking Liv Doral, talking Patrick Reed, strokes gained dog. We've been doing that.
Infinite strokes gained dog. He's already moved up in the rankings.
I can't wait for people to hear it because I've never heard strokes gained dog described in such like a vivid manner from the caddy.
A confident manner. Like it was not even, we didn't even bring it up. And he was like, yeah, this is what we're doing.
Like for 10 minutes before we even brought it up, he was describing why they're so good at golf, and they were describing strokes. Like he was describing strokes gained dog, and it makes sense. I mean, Patrick Reed, how many PGA Tours does this guy have? 9 in a major. Like, I think it was the perfect guest for episode 2 of Credentialed because he is the face of strokes gained dog in the sense that like solid player, amazing short game, but it was dog, and we got it described to us. So that'll be up on
you guys will like that
on YouTube. I think people like that. LPGA already up. Go check that out. Match play this week for real this time. We've been talking about the match play forever. It's finally here. Extended wrist. Yeah. It's up. Valero's going to be up on the site. Liv will be up on the site. You're already done. You got your card done early. Is that a sign of confidence, or just that you had more time because you weren't bootsing?
Well, yeah, a sign of having a time to sit on the couch for once on a Tuesday. That was it.
Okay. So we shouldn't read that as like you just knew the answers right instantly.
No. I wish I knew the answers every week.
Okay. Well, that'll be up on the site. Obviously, we appreciate everybody who listens on YouTube, Spotify, any of the content we do, and we appreciate those 5 stars, reviews, those like and subscribe, send it to a buddy. All of those things help us out. And then we love the people who are in the Discord, who are up on the site, who are supporting us that way. $9.99 for the weekly, $34.99 for the monthly. Major season is ahead of us. And as we've said before, it's not just boots. It's not just outright picks. We do a lot of the models. I'm really happy with how the model's been doing this year. First time using AI to try and build in more of the win probability, build in the odds into the model and comparing that against some of the other, gold star sites, I would say, of doing that stuff. Happy with that's how it's going. We're working on that. That's up there. And then DFS and stuff like that is up there as well. And I feel like, we don't always hype up the site. We talk about boots a lot and things like that, but there's more that goes into it. And one of those things is DFS. And that's where we're going to start the Fast Greens this week. Jurors, we usually do about 4 people that were interested, not necessarily your, obvious names or names from the top of the board. Why don't you kick off the DFS segment this week?
Yeah, I guess I'll start in the 6K range. I'll go bottom up, and I'll go with a guy who we both love, a guy who is actually coming off of the best approach week of his career. Little did anyone know. And that's Tim Viting. Saw the Viking Cup's rankings committee was compiling the stats. He was like, all right, I got to kick it into gear. He had one of his best iron weeks, like I just said. And he's generally a fairly accurate driver of the golf ball. On a course like this where approach play is key, got to play from the fairways, Tim Viting's kicking it into gear, $6,300. Think he can make a cut and maybe get you a top 30 finish, which could work in a lineup.
I was going to start in the 6K range as well, but you just mentioned the Viking Cup. Obviously, the new rankings are up there. Obviously, we've gotten Magnus Carlsen involved because of Annika supporting the former Pac-12 commissioner, who, as a Washington graduate, a longtime Pac-12 supporter, we just can't have language like that. On the Viking Cup, the rankings just came out, and there's a man who is in the rankings. He's now out of the rankings. He's on the bubble jurors, Thorbjorn Olesen. He needs to step his game up. I think he's been inspired by the Viking Cup rankings coming out. He's $7,200 in the $7,200 this week. T14 here last year. Played well in worse form coming in here. And this, to me, when I think of Thor Olsen, this is his type of course. It's not a place where distance is ultimately going to be the decision maker. Use your creativity, shape some shots, hit the irons. And so I like guys who have good recurring course history at Valero. It's a place that supports that. Thor Olsen fits that. T14 under the radar. I doubt anyone's owning him this week at 7,200. So give me Thor Olsen on the back of your Tim Beaton call and shout out the Viking Cup.
All right, I'll go up. I'll stay in the 7K range with you. I'll go $7,400. And this was not a guy that I was going to go to, but I happened to go to the gym today and my AirPods were dead. So I was working out with no headphones. Happened to hear this in the gym. Usually something I hear in the grocery store. And they're talking about the Chris Kirk flow chart. He's got 4 top 10s here. Not many people realize that we're playing on Bermuda grass here this week. You don't overthink it. It's Chris Kirk on a golf course that he's played well on Bermuda. Simple flow chart play. So $7,400, Chris Kirk.
It's funny you say that. I have a list of 4 names written down on this sticky note right in front of me, Jers. Chris Kirk is one of them. He was going to be on my list as well for many of the reasons
collab
that you.
Play?
Yeah, it's called a collab play. Chris K 74. I think he's 90-1 this week. I haven't put my card together. Is he on the card this week? I haven't looked at your card.
Forgot to put him on. No, he's
okay,
not.
So he's not on the card. But I might get him on the card. We'll see. What I like about Chris Kirk is, I think I said early in the year on a pod that he's striping, and I think he's going to win early in the season. But the putter has been truly in the ice chest, like at a horrific level. He putted nicely at Sawgrass. He's got the great course history here. He can win. You heard people at the gym talking about it. Chris Kirk.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that.
Go your next pick.
I'll replace him with somebody who actually I'll give you 2 guys from the 6K range that I couldn't decide who I wanted to replace or who I wanted to put on the list. Ended up putting neither of them on. Now I've got a chance to replace Chris Kirk. I got to remember what their prices were. First one, generational fairway minter. And it ultimately for me this week, I talked about in the first pod we did this week, and I wrote it up on the site, like hit fairways, mint your irons. I don't literally care if you've ever chipped or putted before in your life at Valero. And I feel that way more than, or I care less about short game here than most courses of the year on the PGA Tour. Up and coming generational striper at fairways, up and coming ball striking merchant, John Pock at 6,300 is my first 6K play. And then I couldn't decide if I wanted to go to him or a guy who, I don't like this one as much. This is purely the numbers are saying that he's going to play well this week. I don't know if I personally believe it or not, but at 6,500, got to roll the dice on in a few lineups. The other BG, I like both BGs this week, Jers, but Bryce Garnett, 6,500, PGA Tour winner as of not late, but somewhat recently. Played here a lot. Mints fairways. Stats are saying BG this week.
Okay, I like it. He's been playing some all right golf, hits fairways for sure. I'm going to go up to the 8K range. I'm going to go with Tom Kim. Not that I'm chasing the putter, but I'm chasing, I think that just the ball striking that he's presented the last X amount of weeks is too good for it to not pay off eventually. And you think of all the golf courses that he's won on, they ask you very similar questions to TPC San Antonio. So with that being said, Tom Kim's kind of drifted in the pricing. I think 8,400 is a very fair price with some great upside on TK.
My next guy at 7,600, I think he's popular this week. He's a guy I brought up early in the week. I think you couldn't decide if you thought he'd be popular or not. Ryan Gerard.
He is.
At 7,600. He is popular, and it makes sense. He's mints fairways, generationally strapping with the irons. Not just strapping, generationally strapping with the iron play. The around the green play is bad, but again, I do not care about this week. Go look at the winners here. Look at their incoming around the green form. Look at a guy like Corey Connors, truly the worst short game player that we've ever laid our eyes on. Never in the flesh. He chips fine here. He gets around the greens here fine. There's something about leaving yourself in the right position with the ball striking that allows you to overcome poor short game here, and that's Ryan Gerard. And I know he's popular. I know it makes a lot of sense, but it's one of those where it's so obvious that I feel like I'll feel so dumb if I miss it, that I'm down in DFS. I haven't decided on pulling the trigger from a betting perspective, but it's just one of those where like at 80-1 or whatever it is, it makes so much sense on paper that I get why he's popular. And basically I'm not against it.
Okay. So I have one more pick right now, you're saying?
Yeah, pick one more guy.
One more pick. All right, I'll go up with a guy who also might be similar popular. I like him a lot more in DFS than I do in the betting markets, and that's Daniel Berger. I think his floor is really high here. He hasn't finished worse than 25th in his last 5 starts, and he's a guy who won in Texas. He doesn't have the course history here, which might take some ownership off of his plate. But for what Daniel Berger brings to the table, he's my thing with Daniel Berger for the longest time, like when he first came back from the injury, was the short game was going to really take time to come back, and it has. He's been not striping the short game. Actually, I'm going to say that he's been striping the short game because he's been striping the short game. We don't hear that often.
You don't hear that often.
He has been striping the short game. So Daniel Berger has been compare the stripes with the long game with the stripes with the short game, and I think it makes sense here.
And at the end of the day, Jers, if you're strapping with your short game and your long game, that's a good combination at the end of the day. Like, you're looking for players in the field. This is the Valero write-up for the week. I'm going to delete everything that's up on the side. And just so if your guy's generationally striping with the long game and the short game, your chances are pretty strong this week. So
works every week, actually.
Yeah. So DB Daniel Berger fits that mold. My play from near the top of the board, again, I don't know if I'm going to be betting him or not. I'd say probably not. I think I'm going to be starting the card 50 to 1, somewhere in there, 50 to 60 to 1 range this week. I think.
I'm excited for you to see my card.
I'm not going to look at it till I get my card put together. Obviously, we try to, not cross over the process. So you've been sending your cards later. So that hasn't even been something for me to consider. Now that you've got it done early, I'll have to remember not to open up the dock early. My guy from the top of the board, 9,500. I think it's just too obvious. Again, same in the similar. I think this is a course where things being too obvious is fine. If there's courses where like I don't care about the chart or I don't care who's popular, and because it's such a straightforward ball striking handicapping course, Keegan Bradley, he's popular. He deserves to be popular. We talked about it on Sunday, positionally bombing it off the tee, PB plus even off the tee. The iron plays there. He's played well here before. Another guy who just fits the mold of ball striker, is fine around the greens and putting, not amazing, but just like gets the job done. Has dog. Again, I don't know if I'm going to bet him. 31's a fine number, but at 9,500 in DraftKings, the ownership in the 9K range seems kind of spread out across the guys. So for me, it's Keegan there without a doubt.
All right, so I think I liked all of our picks this week. There's not any of yours that I disagree on. Sometimes on the DFS, like you and I go opposite, which is always fun. But yeah, those are some decent stuff.
I feel like we've been opposite in a few events, and it's kind of a mixed bag. Like
you've won a few, I won a few,
and I think you got me last week a little bit. But yeah, I think that's the nice thing about the site in general. It's like even people in the Discord were talking about this week. The site is not designed for you to come and tail, exactly what we say or do. Oh, Adam picked this guy. I got to pick this guy. Or Matt picked this guy. Or Adam said fade this guy. Like, we're providing the best information we can. We're thinking through it, as much as we can, thinking through pros and cons and all of those different things, and providing as many, write-ups on players, thoughts on players, things like that, to help augment your process. And I think that's an interesting thing that people who, maybe haven't gone to the site before wouldn't realize. Like, there's week in the 9K range where the guy you pick, I faded, and I'll explain why I think that, and you'll explain why you picked him. And it's ultimately up to people to use that information to come to the decisions they want to make.
Yeah, it's a site for ball knowers. It's not a site for you to blindly tail. It's a site for you to be smart and tailor your own thoughts to whatever we're thinking, with whatever we're not thinking. So you'll enjoy it if you haven't got over. Great time to get over there now. Do you want to get into a value pick and then get out of here?
Yeah. We'll end it as we always do with Fast Screens with one value bet. Like I said, hadn't put the card together yet. So I identified my value bet down the board before I've committed to any other players on the card. And I feel good about it, Jers. The man is Max McGreevy.
Bermuda Max?
Obviously, because when we talk about Max on this pod, we're talking about Max. He's a man who won twice last year on the Korn Ferry Tour. He beat Hideki in Japan in the Dunlap in the fall. He's come out. I think I've bet him twice this year in Mexico, which I don't think went awesome. I think it went fine. Where did he finish in Mexico? T25. And then I went back to him the next week around these same odds, 135 to 1 odds on Bet Online right now. I think you get like 125 on FanDuel and the like. Last time I bet him, he was T4 at the Cognizant Classic in the Palm Beaches. Mints fairways. Has been hitting the irons nicely. Another guy who struggles a little bit around the greens and putting, but I don't care as much about that this week. It's a place I think he's played here before, at least has a little bit of experience earlier in his career. It's Bermuda. I assume people, when they're talking about Chris Kirk, at least some people shouted out what are you hearing from McGreevy this week at the
Yeah,
gym?
100%.
So you give me 135 to 1 on a guy when I'm on his data golf profile that has won 3 times in his last 25 starts against this field, 125 to 1. Fuck it. Sign me up for Max
Yeah.
Greedy.
It's honestly crazy because the guy that I'm going to go with my value pick, I was deciding between this guy or Max McGreevy. So I definitely like Max McGreevy as well. As I went with the other guy. And it's a guy who, when you think of a golf course, a TPC track, Bermuda TPC track that's not in Florida, it's kind of reminds me of TPC Summerlin, and a guy who just mixed there a few months back. That's Doug Gim, and we're getting Doug Gim in a bit of a dip in his play, but the iron play has been spotty, not horrific. And if he was in any sort of form, remember in the fall he was touching 30s. In this field, he'd be around 50 to 60 if he was in good form. We're getting him at 140. I think it's a great buy low spot for a guy who fits the bill around TPC San Antonio and can definitely get really hot on the irons. With the irons, the putter leaves a lot to be desired, but he's proven to be able to spike here and there for a few strokes if he gets hot. So I think it's a good value pick, maybe better positional than actually outright, but I like Doug Gim this week.
Yeah, I think too, who fits the description of terrible short game but generational mentor with the ball striking? Doug Gim. So
right.
TPC Merchant too, which this is the least TPC course to me of all the TPC courses that they play. It's like it's the most rugged, doesn't have the same vibes as the other TPC courses. But yeah, final event before the Masters. Can't wait for that. Do you have any information regarding the Masters that anybody should be aware of?
We got the badge. We got the badge in the mail. So that's all the information I have thus far. Yeah, we'll go from there.
There you have it, folks. The badge is in the mail for Jers and Augusta next week. Like we said, coming up too after this, Kessler Crane. If you want to hear from a caddy, I was thinking about this after the pod between when we interviewed Kessler and when we're doing this now. Like, there are not many caddies who have won the Masters.
Not many.
And we just got the chance to chat with him 1 week before the Masters. That's pretty cool, in my opinion.
Pretty cool. What a world. A true what a world moment.
Yeah, honestly. And then too, just like, and people will hear it. We know a lot of the caddies. We've chatted with them. The fact that pairing, those two, Patrick Reed and Kessler Crane, won the Masters, like the opposite of what 98% of golfers and caddy relationships are like, and they have the green jacket that every single player and caddy in the world wants. That's kind of crazy. And I think that was my biggest takeaway that I think people will get to from the pod. It's just like, they do it differently. And
you'll learn a lot from that pod. It's definitely a good listen. Kessler was great. He went on for a while, way longer than we thought we were going to talk for. So definitely a great conversation. Let us know what you think in the comments when it comes out.
Yeah. Thank you, Jers. Everything will be up on the site tomorrow morning. So will this pod. So by the time you're listening to this, get over to the site and get the rest of the content there at vincerix.com and Discord at vincerix.com to get in the Discord. Thanks, folks.